What's up, everybody? You're listening to episode 24 of Just Breathing with Laud Lungs. I have back with me my wife, Brittany, who I talk to almost every podcast, and it's awesome. But this is Just Breathing with Laud Lungs, so we're just going to get into some different stuff than we do on the Just Breathing Home Edition podcast. I kind of want to start with something that we don't really talk about, but is going really well right now, is the F.R.E.E. organization. I never actually, and this is maybe makes me a terrible husband, but I never really ask you how it's going.
Right.
So in front of everybody, to virtue signal and show everybody how great of a husband I am, I'm going to ask you now, how is F.R.E.E. going? And for those that don't know, F.R.E.E. is an anti-human trafficking organization here in Berks County, where we're located, and Brittany's a part of that organization. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's going great. It's such a cool organization to be a part of because I mean the leader of it is awesome, and it's really so focused on Christ and his heart for these girls and for these women and for the men as well. And so I just have to say that because I love being a part of it. It's cool to see a bunch of people doing God's will and seeking his face in this. But yeah, we're in the process of we found a home that we think might be the right home, and so we're in the process of getting it zoned. And and so we're fundraising.
I keep forgetting that you guys got a home.
We didn't. We did not get a home.
A prospective home.
Yes, we have a home in mind, and we're making sure that legally everything can go through.
Yes.
And so, but that's a praise. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. And if no one's worked with cities before, that's what Brittany's talking about when she talks about getting all the legal things together.
Yes.
Because working with cities is a pain in the butt.
For anyone, right?
For anyone. Especially when you're trying to do something that's going to involve more medical stuff, more psychological stuff, and actually being like a rehab-ish.
Right. Any kind of group
program home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little more complicated. But so that's really cool. And so we're in the process of that and fundraising, and we're still raising awareness. We feel very passionate about that. And so we've been blessed to still either do like video calls. Yeah. Andrea, our executive director, is able to, just educate people, and which we think is really important because that's the first step of preventing it. Mm-hmm. And then teaching people how to be aware of what it looks like and how to be part of that change. Yeah. So, I mean,
because I think a lot of organizations, like, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that one really big organization, that's more of a global organization, End It.
Oh, mm-hmm.
They just had like a End It. I don't know if you would call it an awareness week.
Okay.
Something to that regard, where everybody kind of paints like the red X on their hand and just says like, I'm against human trafficking. It's cool.
Yeah. It raises awareness.
It raises awareness. Now they're not like some of the other organizations that are more on the ground in terms of like working with these women, or they're primarily just an awareness organization. Right. And you need all of it.
Yeah.
You need all of it to fight this. And it's cool though. I feel like, and it kind of goes back to a lot of the conversations we have about getting together with friends, relating to people, having conversations with people one-on-one or in groups, or in communities, close-knit communities. I feel like you guys have been really way more effective at educating people because you do it in these smaller contexts. Mm-hmm. You do it within a county. You're not a Pennsylvania human trafficking organization. Right. You're a Berks County human trafficking organization. And I feel like there's been so many amazing things since you guys really have gotten rolling and have started really getting together to pray, getting together to strategize and educate people, and there's been so many sting operations that have taken place,
not by us, but
no, not by you guys. Yeah, my wife's been involved in some sting operations.
I just had to make sure that was like not.
Yeah. I don't mess with her. No, but federal sting operations. A little more involvement with the Reading police, with the surrounding townships around the city, because it takes place everywhere.
Yes,
it's not a city thing, and that's what you guys have really been able to effectively, in my opinion, communicate when you guys go to schools and when you go to churches and when you go to what other places, libraries.
Yeah, I mean, any organization really, like, we've been able to educate like health kind of facilities and
that's right, yeah,
just like small groups, like interest groups that get together for like a certain purpose, and they're just interested to know, and so really almost anyone, and Andrea, our executive director, does such a great job of kind of like honing in on like how to best educate that group.
Yeah.
So like, there's something different for, health professionals, maybe something different for, definitely something different for youth groups. And so that's helpful.
Yeah. That's cool. I really think that's the most effective way to do it. And you guys are kind of going to that next stage of finding a home, establishing it, getting professionals to work it, and actually provide a space for women coming out of human trafficking or who desire to come out of human trafficking. These pants are extremely slippery. So if I feel like if people are watching this, and I know it's going to be weird for the audio listeners, but anybody that's watching this, I took my sandals off, so I'm just in my socks, and then these pants for some reason are so slippery.
That's really funny.
I'm gonna need to get like a cushion for this chair because I'm just like sitting here.
You have to get Velcro on it or something.
I just keep sliding, and I don't have like a tick. Like I don't have a problem. I feel like I'm on like speed or something tonight because I keep like moving like this.
Now everyone's gonna be aware of it who's watching this. They're gonna be like, oh, there he goes again.
I'm trying to get control of it. It's a bad habit. I'm sorry. No. Anyways, tangent. Yeah, I think you guys have been super effective. You're going in an awesome direction right now, from starting out as an advocacy group, an education group, to moving into real tangible things. Like you have a drop-in center where women can go in the city to just get feminine products. They can go to just get someone to talk to, get some information.
They can get connected to resources there, and just kind of like a safe place to go, and helps them.
So that's established. That's operating now. And then you have all of these fundraisers taking place to raise money for the home. And just so everybody knows, and I'll even plug it again if I remember at the end of this, but just go to
Free from ht.org. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, what's the website?
freefromht.org.
Okay, there we go. Freefromht.org. Yeah. I'm glad you remembered that because I was not going to send them to the right spot.
We are reworking our website, so
yeah, it's
in the process.
You guys kind of got gifted or stuck with, however you want to look at it, a very long name.
Yeah.
That's not the most website or social media.
Yeah. But that abbreviated website is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's
the website's great. What I wanted to plug that for, if you want to donate, if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm in Berks County, I want to help fight human trafficking or help build this home to, provide a safe space for women to heal from all of this crap that they've been going through. You can go to that website, freefromht.com or .org. Woo! And you can give on that website. But what are some other things that you guys have been talking about? Are you guys planning any more fundraisers in the future?
I mean, we're always planning fundraisers.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you do, though.
Yeah,
that's not a bad thing.
But yeah, we're just in the process of that now. We like to try to do 2 a year, and yeah, I mean, mostly, like I've said before, this is really it's led by God, but we see the need, and that's why we're going in this direction to purchase a home, because the coalition in Berks County against human trafficking has said that that's the greatest need. Law enforcement say there's no place to put these girls when they find them.
That's another thing that, just in case people don't know, that developed the Berks Coalition against human trafficking is something that developed after you guys.
Yeah.
And in part due to you guys kind of pushing for that. And that's something that, well, you explain it. Who kind of sits on that?
Well, hopefully I explain it and give it justice, but it's basically just a bunch of professionals in in different fields that come together to kind of just figure out how to help each other and help stop this.
Kind of give their
so
input,
this is what we're good at, or this is what we're struggling with, and we all can just kind of help each other and find ways to help solve the problem together.
Yeah.
So
that's so necessary. I'm so glad that something like that, because like you'll never actually see something like that in government. They have committees, but the committees are worthless.
Yeah.
Because the committees are just discussing the things that are best for their parties. You know, I mean, those committees, maybe they'll be bipartisan committees. Maybe there'll be different people that sit on those committees. But for the most part, they've already made decisions before they go to those committees that are decisions that are going to be made when they go to vote. And it's real disgusting. But in this case, you have some people that actually have a heart for figuring this out. And now we finally have gotten past the, like, does human trafficking exist in Berks County?
Yeah.
And that's really what this board or committee or whatever they are. Coalition, better name. That's what they really signify. Once they formed, I was like, oh, Berks County believes it now.
Yeah.
Berks County's like, yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Because for a while there, we were kind of dealing with that. You know, that sort of weird
I think
willful ignorance.
I think it was the whole nation, really. I mean, it's been it is a very, trafficking is not new, but our understanding of it, I think, kind of is. Like, we kind of wanted to ignore it for a long time. And when we did see it, we kind of saw it as that's that person's choice sort of thing. And we have found that is really...
There's still a lot of people that I hear that...
who believe that.
Who still talk that way.
It's really not. The more you learn, there's so much that goes into it, and I'm still learning a lot. But yeah, so that was one of the greatest needs that came out of that coalition, was they were saying we need places to put these girls. And so we're learning from the National Trafficking Sheltered Alliance, which we're a part of, and that's going to be cool, because once we open up a home and we're certified with them, then not only can people from Berks County girls come to that shelter, people can send other women to our shelter who they think would be a good fit there, and then we can screen them and say, you know, we think that this person would really do well here, or you know what, we don't think so, and then they can go somewhere in that sheltered alliance that will fit their needs the best. So
wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like a
really
national team here, which is pretty cool.
That's what you're gonna need to even make a dent in this whole thing. I mean, people, you're right. It is kind of a national ignorance that still is on the national stage. You know, I mean, you still have politicians I hear in debates like talking about prostitution, and they just have this. Honestly, it's a medieval understanding of prostitution. It's like, we don't have brothels anymore, guys. Like, society has gotten more sophisticated, and with it, trafficking of the sexual kind has gotten more sophisticated.
And even brothels back then, like, I think the hardest thing for people to get is because of all the trauma that is involved with sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
It looks like that person maybe is choosing to do that, but you don't understand everything that just happened behind the scenes
100%.
and what's controlling her fear and maybe addiction, and someone over her who has control of her that you don't see. And so
usually women in those scenarios back then. Yeah.
It can be either, unfortunately. So I think there is so much to learn. And it's not as simple as it seems.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to kind of in a country that one loves sex and two loves freedom. It seems like a good argument to say we should let these women be free to make money.
Right.
They're making money. Like, why would we not legalize this if they're going through a hard time and this is their way of trying to get themselves out of it? Why would we not provide them with those opportunities? But like you said, we don't know all of these background things going on.
And it is and if it's exploiting someone's position to say, okay, first of all, let's just go back to this point. If you wouldn't want your daughter to be doing this,
well, of course,
or if you wouldn't want your wife to do this in a hard situation, then it's probably not a good idea. But so if a woman is in a situation where she feels like she has no other choice, you're exploiting this position that she's in.
Yes.
Because she feels she has no other choice. So if someone actually isn't forcing her and she's in that kind of position, she is still in a vulnerable position and you are exploiting her.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure she would.
People will make a philosophical argument that that's capitalism. We're constantly exploiting each other for personal gains. It's you can make an argument that conversation is manipulation.
Yeah, I can see how you could. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to say something right now that is just we're just having a conversation, but at the same time, I'm trying to get you to see my point.
Right.
I'm trying in the way I'm talking, maybe in the way I'm making eye contact with you. I'm trying to manipulate you to agree with me. Doesn't make any of this okay.
Right.
Especially when you have a lot of moral and you have a lot of, there's a lot of deeper things going on when it comes to exploiting someone's sexually, a human being sexually.
Right.
There's just a lot more going on there than talking to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think even if someone tries to make that argument, I think it's more of an excuse than an argument.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's a completely viable argument that you're making that it's exploitation.
It's exploitation.
And
if you think of it on the men's side too, like if that man feels justified by paying someone for what he wants, I mean, that's a problem. But if he wants that, he needs to get it in a different way with someone who is willing, not for him to pay them. You know what I mean? Like, we could go down so many rabbit holes, but I think that monetary, like the man paying someone makes him feel like he's off the hook, like he isn't actually doing anything wrong, when he is still exploiting her situation.
Yeah. How do you explain that to someone that doesn't have like a moral foundation for their life? It's hard, right?
It is hard. I mean, the only thing I can bring it back to is
I've heard the people that have zero, not zero, that's terrible, but they would be psychopaths, but like they don't believe that morality should dictate your life to a point where, it causes you not to be free anymore. And they would point to religion. They would point to other things that would kind of confine you,
Mm-hmm.
spirituality or whatever, that we just kind of confine you and not allow you to just be free. If you want to have sex with somebody, have sex with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the big deal? It's just sex. These are the arguments.
Right.
But I've also heard those same people, especially after they have kids, make the argument that you said you wouldn't want your daughter
Right.
to be involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
You'd feel like she was exploited.
Yes.
And that is morality.
Mm-hmm.
We have learned as human beings that selling your daughter off is not good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's still done in other cultures, sadly. But in Western society, even though Western society is, responsible for many, many terrible things, we've grown past those things. There are still societies that are selling their daughters off today.
Right. And even here, but it's secret.
Right. So to continue in these practices of exploiting other people's daughters is anti-progress.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, you can't really, I'm sure people have made arguments and could still make an argument to me if they were sitting across from me, but I struggle to see the argument.
Right.
That this is okay.
Yeah.
That this is something that should continue for monetary reasons, for money. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's hard. Like I said before, though, it's so hard to get at the heart of somebody other than examples like that when they just don't have that moral foundation.
Right. Right. And I mean, if you dig, there are so many like blessed and wise and anointed speakers who can really speak into this stuff with maybe experience, but also just wisdom and understanding. And they can make it, you can understand all the sides so much better. And then you can see how it's in an injustice.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those speakers, but, I've heard different people talk, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes so much more sense now. And but yeah, really trying to see all the sides and understand why maybe that one person who seems like they're doing it out of their own choice is still doing it. There's a lot to that that you don't see and you don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The sad thing for me is there is a big following that some of these more global anti-trafficking organizations get. And there's some celebrity involvement in those types of things. I'm sad that it's not more, though.
Mm.
And I do believe that it stems from the arguments that we were presenting that we don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
That in many of these cases, they view the trafficking as prostitution or stripping, or there's a lot of different avenues that these women can go down, or be propelled down.
Yeah.
And I think this, you need to be free in your sexuality has sort of taken over the minds of a lot of people, that they don't feel like they should really speak out against this thing because maybe this thing is an issue of law. That if we just made it legal, it would kind of get rid of the pimps, and it would get rid of the sort of negative consequences or things related to. Yeah.
I think this. I think the sad thing is you hear those are the voices that you hear the loudest sometimes, is how it's not actually that bad, and that it's a free thing. You can be free to do this. But the thing that I have found is that it's easy to say that. It's not easy for those who've experienced the exploitation and the shame and the hurt and the trauma of it. It's not easy for them to come out into the open to the world and say, no,
it's more,
this was not good.
There's a lot of shame.
This was detrimental to me. This was awful for me. They're not going to do that. I mean, some of them are brave enough to do that, but I think that's one of the things that gets me a little riled up and a little upset, because there's so much shame there that it sounds like the other side is a little bit silent. So maybe it's not a big deal, but they're silent because there's so much shame and hurt and trauma. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for the other side to be boisterous and loud because maybe they've not experienced that. They haven't been in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And
now this is a spiritual thing, and some people probably are going to listen to this and not really understand where I'm coming from, and that's okay. A lot of this stems from just the kind of, from a biblical standpoint, it's just there's a lot of debauchery and a lot of wickedness in our culture that is just pervasive, and all you have to do is just turn on the TV and there's going to be some wild stuff on there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, if guys are listening to this, they visited porn sites. There's some wild stuff on there. So you don't really have to look too far to see what I'm talking about. And yeah, I just, I'm just struggling with okay, I'm just going to come out and kind of say what I was thinking as you were talking about that. We have this culture that sort of celebrates the wickedness nowadays. We kind of celebrate porn stars as if they've done something instrumental for society.
Yeah.
No. They were instruments for other men to jack off to.
Yeah.
And come on, guys. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Seriously? These are people that should be applauded? No, they should be, because most of them, when they do sit down for an interview and are honest, are like, yeah, it sucked. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a terrible lifestyle. I had to have sex with all of these random men, or women. I had to do all of these things that I just maybe wasn't comfortable enough, but it paid.
Right.
So I did it.
Right.
I hated that lifestyle. And most say this, but you don't hear about it.
Yes.
They're not coming on Joe Rogan's podcast. And Joe Rogan, and this is one that, I listen to Joe Rogan all the time, but he's one that he's never brought on anyone to give him the counter argument to the human trafficking. Well, he doesn't even call it human trafficking. To the prostitution argument.
Okay.
He's very if people want to make $2,000 in one night by having sex with this old guy, they should be allowed to.
Yeah.
I get it. I get the argument. But he's also said, I have 3 daughters. I don't want them involved in this. And he's been open with that. So, but I'm saddened that these voices aren't allowed and aren't celebrated when they come out and say, nah, it's not good.
Right.
Nah, there's issues here. We have this with the trans movement. This is a hot button issue, and sorry, I'm gonna go here. There are thousands of people that transitioned when they were young that regret their decisions. Now, when they came out as trans, there was fireworks and celebrations and applause and social media comments, and there was all of this just wonderful, we are for you, we are with you, congratulations, welcome to becoming who you were born to be. Then when they say, I regret my decision, which is a perfectly legitimate thing to come out and do.
Right.
We make mistakes in life.
Yep.
We're people.
Yep.
We're human beings. I make mistakes. This person made a big mistake with their gender, and they regret it.
Yeah, there's no going back after that.
And when they come out and say that, they get hate, they get silenced, they get all kinds of just malice towards them because people say that they are inspiring hate towards those that are thinking about transitioning.
Oh my.
But if you don't allow the argument to say, this is a big decision, I regret it, maybe someone else might regret it too.
Right. And I
then
think
you only have a culture that just sees people celebrating you for transitioning, and now we're getting, and that's all we want.
Yeah.
We live in a culture that loves the praise. We live for it. So when you are on social media and you only see praise for this, you say, I want praise. I'm depressed.
Yeah.
I need this.
Yeah.
And then we have all of these, especially girls. That's where it's really hitting right now.
Yes.
Abigail Schreier wrote a book about it called Irreversible. And man, great book. Go read that book. She'll make way better arguments than I'm making in this podcast. But she saw this trend of all of these girls going towards transitioning, and they were doing it in groups, and they were all applauding each other, and they were all celebrating each other's transitions. And we silence those that come out and say, I regret my decision.
Because wasn't there a good amount now that are doing that, or that
are coming out and saying I regret it?
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands.
So
but you never hear about them. Instagram, you're on your scroll, and they'll always have like a transgender person, or they'll have a homosexual person in the scroll. They never have straight people. It's weird. Which I think we should celebrate straight people too, because they do great things, make babies. It's beautiful. And that's not a knock. That's just like, we should celebrate all people.
I think so.
Because we're all awesome.
Yeah. As you were talking about that issue, it makes me think of, I think we're not valuing like the whole person and bringing it back to the sexual exploitation. Like when you're selling when you go for a job.
Yeah.
You have like, it's your whole person really that is being like you're interviewing for. Right. But with like, when it comes to just like one thing, just your body, like that's all, like no one cares about anything else except for your body.
Right.
That sounds like exploitation just in itself. Like, I'm going to just use your body and I don't care about how you feel or what you think or what happens afterwards or before. I don't care about you. I just care about me and what I want, and I'm going to get it, and I'm going to pay you so I can feel better.
Yeah.
And if that's empowering to a woman, that's just a lie. Like they don't understand what they're getting into.
But it's like with so many things in our culture, we focus in on one aspect of a larger picture.
Right.
We focus in on the fact that it's just a physical act. Massage therapists come to your house and they give you a massage and you feel better. They don't get anything out of it except maybe some sore hands, and you give them money. Right. What's the difference?
Yeah.
The difference is that there's a whole psychological aspect to sex. It's scientific. Right. There's no argument to it. There are so many things that happen in your brain during the act of sex that are anyway, I'm not going to get into all of that type of stuff, but like, it's a very confusing and psychologically detrimental thing for the woman that has to do this on a constant basis where she's having sex like 15 times a night.
Right.
You know, that you have to go into your mind so that you don't have any attachment to any of these people.
Well, and that's why there's so many disorders that come out of that.
Right. You have to go so deep into the dark recesses of your mind to just detach from the world during these opportunities. That's why these women need a home that they can basically rewire their brains to function normally again.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be normal.
Yeah.
And that's why these stories of the people that are coming out of human trafficking are so important. Because, and just from the few fundraisers that I've been to or meetings that I've been to with you and hearing the stories from actual survivors is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing. Just the things that they had to go through.
Yeah.
And still have to go through.
And I'm always, those ladies, anyone who you ever hear share about their own personal, that's just scary. And that's they didn't have to share any of that. And
No.
yeah, it's crazy. But I guess I just wanted to add one more thing. Like, I think when we talk about sexual exploitation or human trafficking, I feel like you just have to, it's not just one kind of person either. I don't know why I feel like I have to say this, but it's not just one kind of person. We've kind of been talking a lot about people who kind of get into that, maybe not knowing what they're getting into, or the person you see that seems like a prostitute on their own will. But that is only like, that's very few. I just have to say, like they say 9 out of 10 actual prostitutes like that you would see on the street are not prostituting themselves. They have someone over them, but also there's then a very large majority who
they're not doing it of their own will.
There's a trafficker over top of them that's taking their money and making them do what they're doing. But also then there's all these women who have either been exploited as children or have just been exploited, and that's their life now. They've not known a life without that, or they were truly like the trafficked that we see about in the movies, that happens too. That's real.
Oh yeah.
And so maybe it's not as dramatized as like that one that came out a little while ago. I can't remember what it was
Taken?
called. Taken. Yeah. That's very, dramatic, but there in other countries, there are that kind of thing. Yeah. It's not, that's not an over exaggeration.
No,
but,
there's still slave trade.
Yeah.
Like legit slave trade. Like where was that? Well, I know ISIS had it in the Middle East, but then there was there's a lot of parts actually in the world now that I think about it. I mean, there's legitimate slave trades going on in China right now. And that's like legitimate like line women up, and then Chinese men, because of the one-child policies that exist in China, there's a shortage of women. So they literally like will steal women from other countries, namely like North Korea and places like that, and then they will sell these women as mistresses and some wives for these men that don't have any women right now in that country.
Oh my goodness.
But it's still human trafficking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't sound too bad. I mean, like, they're just getting a wife.
Yeah.
No, they paid for that person.
Yeah.
And they're paying like $200.
Oh my goodness.
Or like $50 to own that person. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I wish that I knew more and I could explain things better, but it's very sad. And I guess I feel like it's an insult to the people who have experienced this kind of violence and harm against their bodies to say that it's anything other than an injustice. I mean, it's very disrespectful to them.
Yeah.
So that's just how I feel about it.
And like you said, I think we're just not listening.
Yeah.
I think we're just not listening. And I think that should be a poo-poo on us as a culture that values justice, a culture that is constantly screaming for justice and for decency and everybody to be nice to each other. Then we get on these weird issues that for some reason, I don't know if it's because we're just kind of grossed out by the whole like, oh, prostitution, that's such a dirty profession, so we're just going to kind of make these blanket sort of arguments and just leave it there.
Yeah.
And nothing really has ever come of that. There's never been any real legislation this way or that on prostitution. We just kind of are like, yeah, it exists in our society. It's not good.
Yeah, we haven't made as a nation, we haven't really made a stand on what because there's different opinions. It's divided.
Now, there was in the last administration an effort. I think it was Ivanka Trump.
Mm-hmm. There was a big effort. They did a lot.
She was really doing a lot to fight human trafficking. And I don't really give a crap what your thoughts are on the Trump administration. People are listening. When something good happens, you need to celebrate that. And that's how we're going to take back our country is we're going to celebrate when Democrats do something great, and we're going to celebrate when Republicans do something great, and we're going to call them out for doing something stupid. And yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff going on for fighting human trafficking.
Yeah.
And that was cool. That was cool to see. But to get traction, it was really hard. There was barely any news coverage of some of the things that were going on in regards to that. Like it would last for like a day. Some of this, okay, now I'm going to call out the stupidity. Some of it was Trump's fault because he liked the attention on him so much that, you know, the human trafficking stuff would come out and then everybody would be on a tweet.
Yeah.
That he put out. And it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would happen. But we just need to keep the conversation going on all of this stuff and
more and more education.
Listen and listen to, we had all of this kind of racial stuff happen in 2020. And it motivated me to really take to heart the call that sort of went out there that we need to start listening more to Black voices. Now, there are major issues with a lot of these calls that were put out to the white people of America. But that one I took to heart because I value conversation so dearly. I'm like, you know what? I'm not listening to my Black brothers and sisters that have feelings and they feel a certain way on things, and I don't know enough about it.
Right.
So I'm going to start listening to Black voices. Now, some of the Black voices that I've started to listen to may not be the Black voices that I was supposed to listen to because I don't really seek out the race baiters that just want to see division in the races.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to you because you're a hateful person.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
I'm going to listen to people that actually have arguments, that want to do something to change.
To bring unity.
To bring unity and to bring change in this country. So I've found a bunch of Black voices this past year that I've started listening to today, you know, that I listen to on a regular basis. And what's been really cool to see, and this is a positive thing, though some of those Black voices have grown in popularity after kind of that call to start listening more to Black voices.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's been really neat to see. Like some of them have had like they would just put out like a podcast like every so often or a YouTube video or something like that. And now they're doing like regular shows. They have like Patreon accounts because they need to do more regular stuff and kind of up their game a little bit because people keep tuning in to want to listen to what they have to say on the issues.
That's awesome.
And it's really cool to see. But I think with these issues, like the trans issue, the issue with prostitution and sexual trafficking and exploitation, and I think that should be a part of it, and exploitation. We need to start listening to some of these women. We need to listen to some of these people that have come out of these situations and horrible scenarios that have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be entertaining to listen to these people.
And honestly, it shouldn't be entertaining.
Well, I don't mean that. I'm saying as opposed to you flipping on Netflix or Disney Plus tonight.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Go to YouTube. There are testimony of these people's stories.
Right.
And I think it's just watch one. Just watch one.
Right.
I'm not saying to just go through a night and just wake up tomorrow depressed. Like I'm not. Watch one and listen and learn and sympathize with those people so that it can actually inform you and your arguments.
Right.
That's the problem. We kind of have these arguments without any information behind them. So they're very flimsy, and that's why I call them blanket statements, because there's nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Just kind of covering the issue. It's not really solving anything.
Right.
it's not arguing for or against anything.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Anything else that you have been thinking, or anything else that you guys have been talking about at F.R.E.E. that you want to?
Not that I can think of. I think what you were saying is true. Like, education's so important for us to be educated on it and what it looks like and how to prevent it. And especially if you think that it's something, if you think it's like, maybe you disagree, maybe you think like this should be legalized or something, like just learning more and, understanding how, like, just trying to find all the sides and really get your information right.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, like I said before, with politicians that sort of have these views that it needs to be legalized, or at least they say that, maybe because it's a popular opinion or something. I don't know. They're not seeking out organizations like F.R.E.E. or organizations that are actually in the field fighting human trafficking who might say something different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty evident that a lot of our politicians aren't learning. They just make statements.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of knowledge backing those statements.
Yeah.
But we don't have to be like them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can listen to podcasts like this and engage and kind of follow up with going and finding stories of people that have a story to tell. And we should listen to them because they're our countrymen and countrywomen, and they deserve to be heard.
Right. Just
like the people that celebrate all of this stuff. There are definitely people out there that celebrate the porn industry, that celebrate prostitution.
Yeah.
There are professional, I don't know what they're called. I don't think they're called professional prostitutes, but call girls, is that a term?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. But there are people that are making the counter argument, and a lot of people just hear that.
Yeah.
And we need to start listening to the other voices so we can actually have an informed position on all of these things.
Yeah, I think another interesting thing, and now of course I can't remember what it's called now. It's not a Christian-based organization, but they have a lot of good things to say against porn, since porn is kind of helps a lot of men get into
it's a gateway drug.
Yeah. It kind of leads them right into going to the next level. Mm-hmm. But it might be like Men Against Porn or something. I don't know. It's probably not that simple. Yeah. But there was like this group of guys I remember learning about like a few years ago that used to look at porn all the time, and they found that it wasn't beneficial to them, and not on they don't have any religious basis for this. They just found that it's not good for their relationships. Whenever they wanted to be intimate with whoever, they were not able to. And so I mean, just look up stuff. Like you'll find, if you look, you'll find like the reasons how it's not good. It's not only not good for those people that are being exploited, it's not good for you.
There's a lot of studies out there.
And not only is it not good for you if you're the man buying it, it's not going to be good for your future wife. She's not going to be happy about that. Or your current wife. Or your daughter.
Or likely,
would you be happy for your daughter to find out about that?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when there's so much shame involved, it's not a good choice.
No, it's not a good choice. And hopefully you inform people of all of these things. I think it's good to talk about it. Some people literally, if they don't hear someone talk about the shame involved in something, they won't go into it with that argument in mind.
Right.
They'll make up their own because they desire it. Mm-hmm. They'll make up their own arguments. But if they have those arguments in their mind prior, they'll say, oh crap, this is going to really affect this, this, and this.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many physical things involved with porn and with, you know, all of this kind of free love and sexuality that exists in our culture right now. I mean, I just heard a podcast the other night talking about the ways in which testosterone is drastically reducing in men in the United States. And I don't know all of the things involved in that. It was just an interesting study that sort of got suppressed, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
But anyway, that's a conversation for another time. We should wrap it up. We got babysitters. So anyways, that was a good conversation. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure that if you're watching on YouTube that you like this, you subscribe, you hit the notification bell, you do the things. And that way you know when we are back with another video. And then those listening, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review and a rating. If you haven't done so already, I don't usually plug this too often. Go to our social medias. We're at Just Breathing Podcast on pretty much just Facebook and Instagram. I talk about how Twitter's a dumpster fire. We're there. I don't go there. So you won't find me in any of the comments over there. So find us at those two places, Just Breathing Podcast. And we'll see you guys on either another home edition or another one of Just Breathing with Laud Lungs. All right, guys. Bye.